But we are now live for Fireside Chat number 70. Apologies again for cancellation last week, and then of course this week we are now live Friday at an earlier time, which hopefully I don't know how often this is going to happen, but at the very least I knew I had a conflict Thursday night, so I thought it was a great opportunity to move it earlier and make sure, because I mean it's still afternoon here, so I suppose some people here in the U.S. time zones are working, but at the very least, this does give opportunity for all of our British time members to have a good opportunity to show up to Fireside and hear it live at least, which I think is always going to trump listening to the VOD. But as far as this week, it's been, or rather the last 2 weeks have been pretty active, at least for me, and I think most of the officer staff from kind of an administration standpoint. I've really been trying to put in a ton of time to doing a lot of various tasks throughout WA, stuff that's been on my to-do list a long time. Um, I probably forget some stuff, but I did upgrade or update rather the WA handbook quite a few times, and mostly it was minor stuff, updating new lords, earls, stuff like that. For example, we have two families that kind of are revived currently. The Toth Wings, with their Earl Othenhelmer, also known as Zergslayers, back in House Kilroy, and Ingevar, also known as Lance, is back, and now Earl of the Varlings, Varling family in House Dippity. So a few odds and ends like that, updating some Huskarl changes, stuff like that. Obviously, we had Endiolfer transfer over. He's now leading Hell's Raiders as Huskarl. Fusrun transferred from Mjolnir's. He's now over in Hran's Watchers as their Huskarl. And speaking of warbands, one of the things I've been trying to do is get warband information, just some basic stuff, pinned in all the warband text channels and also on the warband subforums on our forums. So it's pretty close to done. I think we're about somewhere around 80%. Most of the warbands are all set now. What I was gunning for was having a flag, a roster, and some basic information on the warband, like they get to pick a patron IRR of WA from like our website IRR list. They can pick one or two. Some basic info like symbols, colors, themes. Like a lot of warbands have written up lore stuff, like their warband ship in the WA lore. How does that work? What's kind of the origins of their warband in lore? That kind of stuff. So I want to get all that information pinned in each warband channel, and so far we're pretty close to done on that. I think the last things I'm looking at was, let's see, I know Kolga's Manigothi is working on a description that it looked great. I think he's making some edits to it. That should be posted soon. Franz does need all their stuff in the Discord channel, which I believe Fusern is working on. And then lastly, I'm hoping to get the Companions of Aegir a flag. I know when we had the Yarnhrith, the battle between the two great companies, we had a flag for each, but the flag for Companions was basically just an image of Aegir, the Norse god. Not really a full design flag that we made or anything like that. So I was hoping to get something like that put together. I believe that's in the works. It's certainly something they've discussed a lot, so that should be cool. As far as other to-do list stuff, a lot of random stuff. One thing I did just finish last night is mark boards. I updated all the mark boards that for people that already had one. Um, and I also changed the marks guide a bit, so added some new marks. We had the Festival of Hope marks come out. The second Hjorthing marks are out. And I updated a couple things. I updated all the old Knight marks, so Jade Falcon, White Knights, Rangers, and Vargr marks all got kind of a visual update. Most of them look pretty similar, but they look a little bit sharper, I would say. Hopefully. And so yeah, update all the marks stuff. Also, how I had some guild reorganizations going on, so I combined the Scribes Guild, Bards Guild, and the Artificers Guild into a new guild for anything creative, any kind of art, called the Artisans Guild, which is currently led by Routerland. And basically, the hope is that by having that opportunity for collaboration between like writing, music, art, poetry, what have you, can create sort of collaborative work for WA, and also the fact that all the guilds were fairly inactive on their own. I think combining them is a good method of saying, okay, well, they're not very active on their own, so we can have a bigger guild. Ricky giving a sad face for the Bards Guild in the chat. But yes, they are combined, and then in place of the Scribes Guild, Whereas the creative writing part is now lumped in with the Artisans Guild. There's a new guild called the Historians Guild, which I am leading, which is basically just kind of non-fiction, if you will, writing, codex work, writing histories, timelines, that type of stuff. And generally speaking, with all these guilds, we're operating on kind of a if you want to join, you can basis. So just message somebody in the guild, or even just message an officer. We can definitely help you out, get you sorted there. But we also do have the Gladiators Guild still. New leader Solight's now in charge of the Gladiators Guild, and we also have the what am I forgetting? The Engineers Guild, which I am now the leader of. Which right now, I mean, so the Engineers Guild is mostly in charge of technical stuff, servers, forums, websites, technical platforms, games, programming, anything like that. I know Sola is part of it, and one thing he has been working on that looks cool is finding a more efficient method of doing mark boards, which would be really cool because I could people get theirs updated faster. People could almost like make their own just using this program. Thus far, seems to be working pretty well from what I hear. He was messing around with that the last 2 days. So yeah, those are all the guild updates, and then in addition we had let's see. Oh, I did update. There's a new, pretty useful thread in the monolith on the forums called Active WA Duties, and basically what I did is I combined a lot of different things there. So it lists any events anybody is hosting, any miscellaneous stuff, like for example, writing fireside descriptions, making calendars, running the Twitter, running the Instagram, miscellaneous stuff like that that people are have volunteered for or responsible for is listed there. It also is a good way to look at all current active events we have going on because it lists all those under events. It lists all normal duties, as in chain of command duties, like who's leading what warband, who's leading what great company is listed there. It also lists extra duties like Thane duties and Harrisser duties. For example, Pato's job is to interact with new recruits, make sure they're recruited properly, that kind of thing, and basically talk to them, verify that they know what's going on, if they have any questions, that kind of thing. So basically, everyone, Thane and Harrisser, is supposed to have a extra duty or more than one, as stated in the handbook. So that is all in that thread, so it's fairly useful, and I kind of combined a couple threads for that. I think that's most of the big stuff I've been working on. I did put up the new calendar. I'm not sure if I'm going to be making the calendars again every month, but this month Lamas had let me know he wouldn't be able to, so I put it together. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm more than happy to make them again for the next month or whatever if we need to, or he's unavailable. And then we do have a lot of updates on the Codex of the Aesir, on Uko, and on the forums. There's a lot of stuff that's out of date. Honestly, it's just something neither myself nor any of the Scribes Guild have had a chance to really do a lot of Codex work. I think Leitafrodi has written a few entries that I just haven't put into the system yet, so that is some of the work done, but I do want to just go through and double check that everything is up to date. Every single entry, which we have about 600 or something like that entries. So it is a tall order, but sorry, I just realized I mentioned the Scribes Guild. The Historians Guild is who's in charge of it now. But yeah, we will be trying to do that. That's probably next on the list. I think the only other thing would be, we take a look at my to-do list here. There are a couple other little things. I've got some more House Dippity stuff to work on with some of our traditions like relics, stuff like that, as well as a few things. This kind of going with the Codex entries, but Pato had suggested a few new Codex entries that should be written, including WA lore stuff like lore locations and servers and stuff like our Discord server, TeamSpeak server, having a codex entry about them, and even entries for individual Discord channels as well, like say an entry on Surtur Hall, for example, which I thought was a great idea. So that's all tied in with that whole codex update. So that's something that will probably the next thing I'm working on, in addition to the ship descriptions, describing some of the biggest ships in the WA fleet in kind of the WA lore world, and those will probably go in the new edit on the forums. But describing some of our basically, if you're unfamiliar, we do have on Discord, you see WAS Vigilant, WAS Seeker. these are ships, basically, in our fleet, is how we think about it. And the hope was, as some of the warbands have described their own ships, that I would describe some of these big flagships of the fleet myself as well, which I think would also help out a lot of the people writing stories in the WA universe to kind of know what those ships look like, so they can, because obviously they would be pretty important to a lot of WA stories. But I think that's about all I've got going on. I think there's, yeah, just a lot of little things I wanted to do this last week or two, fixing some stuff up. And one other thing I do want to do that I think I just realized I didn't have on to-do list, but I usually like to go in myself and just kind of review every warband's roster and see what's going on in terms of if there's any roles that are messed up. Like somebody has both the scout and warrior role. If we have any members that haven't posted in roll call for a really long time, but they slip through the cracks, they haven't been put at guest or anything like that, or maybe they did never posted an LOA, nobody knew, or just clearing stuff up like that is something I like to do every once in a while. It's just kind of a double check on what officers are already doing. So that's something I'll probably look at doing pretty soon here as well. Oh, and lastly, the lecture series. I know I said I had hoped to do 3 in July. Didn't wind up happening, unfortunately, but at least we got 2. I am looking to do a third one at some point here, but with all this stuff I'm working on, I think it's been delayed a while, but it is still on the table for sure. So stay tuned for that. If you are into the lecture series, there should be more. And as always, if you have any ideas for topics or you want to be a guest lecturer and do your own, and I can stream it for you, happy to hear stuff about either of those. But yeah, I think that's about all I had for today. So does anybody have any comments or questions or anything they wanted to bring up?
Yes, actually. Who's making the archive post today?
Well, with Kusiak not here, I'll probably make it myself. Actually, that's a good
Alright,
point.
that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I just I want to take the opportunity to say thank you for doing an earlier Fireside from all the rustlings, because we've been kind of feeling a little out in the cold, so it's quite nice to be able to be at a live Fireside, you know?
Yeah, no problem. I mean,
Thank you.
I'm definitely open to making it a more permanent thing. Like maybe we do it once a month or something like that, or we even just have an additional event aside from Fireside that kind of serves a similar purpose or something like that. I don't know, but
Matinee Fireside.
yeah, something like that. We'll see. But at the very least, I don't think this will be the last one. I mean, if I happen to be busy, have to cancel again on a Thursday, this will probably be my go-to slot, I think. So yeah. Anybody have anything else?
Is there a place to put the Fireside summaries? Because I know me and Glaron were supposed to do that, but I asked Kuzi and he said, "Oh, it's probably going to be somewhere in the forums, but it hasn't been put up yet." So
Yeah, I
just kind
apologize
of
for
wanted
missing
to
that. I
clear
have
that
been
up.
very busy lately at 5.
It says it's going to be posted in archives in the active duties page.
Yeah, my thinking was it would just go in the archives, the same way Kusi posts there. I'll double check that you guys both have permissions to
Okay,
post.
so yeah, it would just be more 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 detailed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
No problem. Just making a screenshot here. I heard something from Fold Mather. Do you have something to bring up?
No, it was a quick chuckle
Uh,
about you responding like 10 seconds later.
sorry, I was basically the way I have my push to talk on my mouse. This button does one or two weird things. I'm not sure exactly what, but sometimes it'll mess stuff up. So I'm doing something like taking a screenshot and editing it real quick. I sometimes don't use my push to talk for a little bit till it's all set. But yeah.
thought we were getting hit with some heavy ping from.
Yeah, it's extreme lag. But cool. Well, does everybody have everything else? Otherwise, maybe we're winding down here. Kind of sounds like no. Well, yeah. One thing I did want to add that I've said in the past, but not in a while, is that if anybody does miss Fireside, but they have something they really want to be brung up, then you can always message me or any officer that's going to be there, and we can make sure that it is discussed too. Which is not the same thing as being there in person, but at least it's better than say having to watch the VOD later on afterwards. But yeah. Well, cool. All right. I think in that case we'll sign off. Thanks everyone for showing up for the Fireside. Thanks anybody watching live or watching the VOD. Plan is to be back next week at the normal time, Thursday, 5 p.m. PST. But yeah, I'm definitely open to doing some more of these kind of Friday morning ones, Friday evening for the Brits for that one, and yeah, we'll see everybody next week.